Seton Hall, Georgetown in the semifinal. Number 2, the winner could well wind up playing in the East region of the NCAA tournament, and the loser could go on the road. So, Billy Packer, there is more at stake than just the championship of the Big East. What should we look for here this afternoon?
Well,
next to him, Demetrius Gore. Remember what Billy told you. He could play some guard. And the main man, Charles Smith from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now in the backcourt, Sean Miller, at the age 11, appeared on the Johnny Carson show. We'll have more on that story. And Darrell Porter has moved to the starting lineup. Now on the other side, the veteran, Jimmy Boeheim. Virtually all his life, certainly his basketball life, right here at Syracuse. Eric Coleman, only a sophomore from the Motor City. Next to him, Stephen Thompson. His Crenshaw High School wrapped up another title last night in Los Angeles. Ronnie Cycli, the senior at center. And in the backcourt, the man who runs this attack, you know him, Sherman Douglas and Matt Rowe. Now, Derek Brower and Ronnie Cycli were introduced to the crowd. Their final game in next weekend's tournament in Madison Square Garden. Syracuse controls it now. The home white, they'll try to free Rowe. Pittsburgh certainly has to be conscious of his three-point efforts against them over in Pitt. Coleman coming out high. Here's Cycli, Smith with him. Good bounce pass to Rowe for the layup, and a foul is called against Pittsburgh.
Matt Rowe has been asking to do more things for this club other than shoot three-point plays. A great offensive set to start things against that Pitt man-to-man. Going high to Comey, down into Cycli low, and Rowe making a good cut to the basket.
No team is afraid to put anybody from this Syracuse team on the free throw line. They get off to a good start. And there's the brackets now. The winner of this game draws Boston College, and in the, I should say the loser, and that would put them in the Georgetown Seton Hall game. And the winner would be at the bottom, and they would go up against the survivor of the St. John's Villanova if they win that first round game. Both teams agree they would like to avoid Georgetown Seton Hall until that championship if they can. They want this one. Quickly inside, rejected by Cycli.
Again, you can see Pittsburgh trying to use Stevie Thompson down low.
Coleman wouldn't stay down, and Smith was pushing off on the inside. That's the second team foul here early. First one on Gore, and now the second one on Smith.
You can see that Syracuse just loves to push the ball up the floor, and if they can get in a running type ball game, which we saw Kentucky take them out of it last week, they're tough to beat. Great man-to-man by Pittsburgh.
They seal up Coleman.
Oh, they have Lane now on Cycli.
So it'll be Thompson with the driving left-hander, and he draws the offensive foul call on the inside. That's the first, and it's going to go against Cycli for pushing off.
Personal charge to Syracuse, number 4, Ronnie Cycli.
Take a look at this, Billy.
That was interesting to see Lane fighting his way with Cycli. Comes across. Gore almost gets a piece of this. And there you see the foul by Cycli pulling Lane down to the floor.
We're going to call a few on the inside here early. Gore gets the first field goal of the afternoon to tie the score.
Paul Evans had to like that. He wants Gore to get off the blocks early. Same way with Rowe for Syracuse. Lane shifts back to Coleman now. They're switching inside.
Douglas trying to get the ball to Cycli, and Smith doing a good job with him. Here's the battle in the middle. Cycli off the fake is short with the ball, and Lane's got the miss.
Great defense by Smith on that play. Didn't leave his feet. Put Ronnie Cycli in a tough position to get off that little jumper.
Now Smith wants to go to work on him offensively.
Nice drop.
There he is, moving hard, but he couldn't get the smash to stay down. Offensive rebound, and Lane with the layup for the Panthers.
That's a great feed by Jerome Lane. Very underrated passer and ball handler.
Now Syracuse looking for his first field goal. They've got a pair of free throws here early. Here's Cycli in deep. Oh, breaks away, and he's tied up.
Super help by Porter on that strip inside.
It'll go to Pittsburgh.
It's a tough move to take a ball away from a Ronnie Cycli who is so strong on the way up. Good job by Porter, who has fought his way into the starting lineup.
You're feeling about the Panthers on the inside here early, Bill?
Well, I think we're going to see Bobby Martin come into this game pretty soon, because that would give them a big advantage over Stevie Thompson. But Lane and Smith can guard anybody inside. They're tough.
Porter on the pull-up gets the goal. Now they run to a 6-2 lead, and Syracuse doesn't have a field goal yet against this defense. This has been tough Panther defense. Smith picks up cycling.
Look for Sherman Douglas, Brent, here to try to get a little bit more in the offense. He's been very passive so far with Sean Miller on it. Here he goes. Got fouled on the arm.
And Miller gets the long rebound as no call was made, and the Panthers can streak out here early. Now Smith's a good outside shooter for the big man. Cycling got part of it, but not enough.
Ollie Smith can do it all. He steps outside. He's taken some three-pointers this year, but he's very good putting the ball on the floor. A natural forward who plays the post position.
Now, keep an eye on the inside defense, because Cycling and Coleman are not getting easy shots.
Oh, big screen.
Now Rowe forces one. I'll tell you, the Panthers are impressive here in the early moments of this one.
Oh, nice
Driving layup by Demetrius Gore.
Jimmy Boeheim has to go with the time. Great move.
Only 2 free throws for Syracuse. Pittsburgh in the battle for the Big East title leads early.
Well, then you've got to make the call.
You're right. All right, now Syracuse looking for its first field goal. They had 2 free throws, led it by 2 at 16-22. They're down now by 8 points, and they go low to Coleman. No whistle underneath. Cycling can't get the handle. A little sloppy with the hands, and getting it back is Douglas, and Coleman again.
Brent, I think Sherman Douglas has got to get more involved in the offense. They're trying to go everything inside, which is good strategy, but Sherman's got to be more aggressive.
Now Pittsburgh is 5 of 7 here in the early going and make it 6 of 8.
We're looking, Brent, right out here now in regard to the front line. Cycling, Coleman, Smith, and Lane are 4 All-American caliber basketball players, so we're going to see some great individual play.
Pittsburgh always conscious of Douglas's ability to lob the ball deep. Sherman keeps it. It's a beautiful pass to Thompson.
I think that is the big advantage that Syracuse has athletically, and that's Sherman Douglas on Miller, who's had a great year, but Douglas is awful quick for him.
Boeheim's defense pressuring the ball, and the foul is called. It's on Porter as he gave it up there. He crashed on in, and that's his first personal. So we get some substitutes coming in early. There is Duncan. A year ago, we would have seen Monroe probably leave for a couple of minutes, but Duncan checks on in, and Brower, the other senior, goes down deep in the hole.
Cycling sits, and that helps the Pitt matchup a little bit, although Brower has had some big games in his career. Good back screen for the lob.
There it is. Coleman in behind Smith, and the foul is called, and that's the second one on Charles Smith.
Okay. Excellent play that time by Syracuse. Brower sets that great wide screen for the lob to Coleman.
Now Jim Burr is our referee. He's working with Mickey Crowley and Gene Manji. This is a big-time crew for this Big East title game.
Zone out of bounds, 2-3. And of course, with Rowe out of the ball game, not a designated shooter.
Coleman.
Brent, he's underrated as a jump shooter. Going right over the press. And of course, you don't mind throwing it to Smith.
Picks the pocket of Smith, and it goes to Pittsburgh. He was out of bounds.
Super defense on the double team.
Now Miller, the point guard. Boeheim wanting a foul called against Pittsburgh that time.
Jimmy goes into his 2-3 zone. Brower right down in the middle.
To Lane, chance for a three-point play.
Syracuse cannot play a 2-3 zone with Stevie Thompson in the game. Now that's a strong statement, but Thompson just is so weak, and every team attacks his side of the zone. You see how Lane puts him on his shoulder and keeps him there. Thompson just not big enough, even though he has leaping ability, big enough in the zone to handle that backside.
It away. Douglas. Thompson crashes in. Offensive foul call. we've got 3 on Syracuse and 4 on Pittsburgh. Now, Billy, there's the man that would have been out there with a bigger body, Howard Trish. He was a senior a year ago, and Stephen Thompson has had to step in. He's over on this other wing here, and right away they go to that side. You called it. Lane on the turnaround.
See, Jim Boeheim will have to make a change there, and I really credit Paul Evans for some outstanding coaching because Lane was instructed to go to whatever side Thompson's on. Which is a good move.
Coleman can't get the roll. Duncan a little early, and out come the Panthers. Porter, Douglas rotates back to Lane. 8 points for mighty Jerome Lane, and that time the glass didn't break.
No, his fantasy, he has 2 fantasies. One to break the board, which he's done. The other's get 30 rebounds in a game. Evans on the referee over there saying, watch those solid screens.
Gore came out beautifully, but Duncan retrieves the loose ball.
What we're seeing out of Gore so far is great senior play. Very experienced moves on his part so far.
Nice bounce pass, but the Panthers were ready, and Douglas comes away with it. Great strength for the little man.
Shows you what a battler he is, Brent. Gets down inside, has those quick hands. Very strong, tenacious player, goes up, uses his left hand to push away, gets it back. I'm surprised Jerome Lane didn't attack him a little bit there for the block. And Cycli back in the game, Brent, and Coleman goes out. Interesting substitution pattern by Jimmy Boeheim early, trying to keep those 2 big guys rested and out of foul trouble.
13 minutes for Boeheim and Syracuse against Pittsburgh. You're watching the championship game for the regular season of the Big East. Next week is the conference tournament. It's 18-11. Hit over Syracuse. And Pittsburgh has hit its last 8 field goal attempts. They have been sizzling.
Stevie Thompson, a little change in the defense that time.
And Lane gets the bounce and 10 points here, going to the left hand that time.
What a gifted player. You know, he's got himself in great shape compared to where he was in the Pan Am Games last year. He can dribble, shoot, read
away by Smith with defensive play, and Matthews, who's on the floor, wearing number 22, lost his starting job here recently for Coach Evans. Gore gives it up to Lane, and Lane now, he's just putting everything away.
Brent, I think that Jimmy Boeheim has got to go back with his twosome of Coleman and Cycli. He just doesn't have enough size in that ball game right now to play against Pitt.
Lane 6 of 6 against this Syracuse team, and a 22-11 Panther lead now Cycli. His first field goal.
And you can see Coleman is now up off the bench and going to come back into this ball game. I guarantee you Cycli won't be going out. Let's see this defense a little bit. It looks like a zone, and then they're switching back to man-to-man. Now they're in a straight man-to-man.
And Brower has come out with Lane. Now it's Smith with Cycli on him. Off the fake, leans in. Offensive rebound for the Big Fellas.
Rebound basket by Charles Smith.
That's where it helps to have Coleman in that ball game, because although Cycli had him occupied, Coleman could have come over from the weak side.
Brower.
Oh, that's hooked.
A foul was called, but that ball was sealed up against the glass. I think the hook shot would have gone in.
Yeah.
Yes, scored. Absolutely.
That was a goaltend.
Yeah, Billy, I think you were right.
Yep. You see Charlie Smith coming over. The ball on the way down.
Jerome Lane, number 34.
Goes to show you his great shot blocking ability. The all-time leader at Pittsburgh. You can see the ball on the way down. He gets a piece of it. Good call by the official.
Now that's 16 fouls against Pittsburgh already. But the first on Lane. Smith with 2 and Porter with 2. We got a television break now. We've got 11 minutes to go. It's 24-16. The Panthers ahead of...
To Douglas. Brower will come up and set the screen. Coleman goes long. Douglas going to go ahead and pass that ball to him. There you see the swing. Solid screen by Brower, and there's the lob. Although it wasn't executed to perfection that time, they did draw the foul.
Syracuse attempting to dig in defensively. Thompson chasing Gore, who got free around a screen but missed the shot. Syracuse down with that missed, and here's Douglas at midcourt, but he traveled. Good defensive positioning by Gore that time. He went right to the spot.
Brent, that's the third time today at the minimum that Gore has made a smart play that's caused either a walk, a turnover, or a bad pass. And he's showing that senior leadership that a coach loves. It doesn't show up in the box score, but great mental play.
Off the drive, putting down his first field goal is Jason Matthews,
who's been in a slump of late but had a torrid start. A freshman that came in much unheralded, but played very well for Peter Oyan.
Cycling should have an easy one.
So tough to handle that high-low Cycling-Coleman combination.
Derek Coleman, an outstanding passer out high, demonstrating at that time. Now Smith backs up on Cycling. The battle underneath, and Cycling comes down with it. Rowe wants it over here on the wing.
Douglas wants it inside.
They leave Coleman outside. Lane. Miller eyes the floor. And Smith off the turnaround with that quick move of his.
Sensational drop step move by Charlie Smith.
It's a 10-point Panther lead. Time remaining first half. A lot of news to report. James Brown, there's the lob pass deep to Coleman. And Matthews reaching in is called for his first personal foul over the limit. They go to the 1-and-1 now. And let's see how Syracuse handles it as Brower checks back in. So far, the Orange men are perfect at the free throw line. You don't get a chance to say that very often. They're 4 of 4.
Brett, it shows that it should be 1-and-1, but the Coleman's standing out of bounds. I don't think the referees recognize it yet.
Well, they'll tell him here in a minute, won't they?
Yeah. You know, interesting column in the Syracuse paper today about the fact that there is the possibility next year in the rules to allow a coach not to shoot free throws and take the ball out of bounds. If you're Syracuse, you may start doing that from the get-go. And that's the one
reason. Even in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I don't like the rule. I mean, I think you ought to have to shoot free throws somewhere in the course of the game.
There's Gore. Didn't get it, but pounding in from the other side was Lane, and that is 16 points for Jerome Lane. Jim Boeheim, what's defense? Here's Rowe. First three, bangs in. Home run for the Orange men.
That's a great weapon when a team goes full court press against you to have a man that can shoot from the wing, particularly when it's a three. And Syracuse back to the zone, but look at how much more effective, Brent, the zone is with that big back line now, without Thompson in there. It ought to cause some problems.
Coleman and Cycling in low. Now they're searching for the daylight. And lob to Smith, who moved aggressively to the glass and was fouled. And that is the first on Brower and the 4th team foul against Syracuse.
Boy, I love the way Jerome Lane passes.
The #1 seeds, what they have done in the tournament. 3 of the last 4 years. And St. John's lost in the finals. And these two teams playing for that top seed, and they would be matched in the same side with the winner of the Villanova-St. John's game if they get by the survivor of 8 versus 9 in their first round.
Brent, you see the name Georgetown up there a number of times in that championship deal. Only one team in the entire Big East has ever beaten Georgetown in a Big East tournament, and that's Syracuse. Is that incredible?
And this year, the Hoyas are 2-0 against Syracuse. Both great games right down to the wire. Paul Evans from the Naval Academy. He's done a great job coaching this Pittsburgh team. Brought a lot of discipline to this unit. They play extremely well and tough. They don't back away from anybody.
Gore matched up with Brower, which he can handle.
Cycling on the turnaround. And for Ronnie, his 3rd field goal.
You mentioned in Evans, this is his 5th straight 20-win season, and only the 2nd time in the history of Pittsburgh that they've won 20 games back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, they're not finding Lane quite as easily as they did when the smaller Stephen Thompson was on the floor.
He's just hiding down on the baseline, trying to get open, and there he is.
A nice pass from Smith. Smith and drew the foul, so he'll come to the free throw line. That's 2 on Coleman.
Takes a lot of patience to go plant yourself down on the baseline and just hide back there behind the defenders, waiting for the opening. And Lane did it perfectly.
Jerome Lane is only a junior. Derek Coleman, the sophomore. Derek Coleman and Demetrius Gore knew each other from their competition in Detroit.
62% free throw shooter.
One free throw by number 34, Jerome Lane.
And 7:50 to go here in the first half. Pittsburgh's led all the way. Syracuse hit 2 free throws to go up 2-0, and that was it. Douglas on the turnaround. Nice offensive move by their team leader.
Sean Miller's been very quiet offensively. Brent just getting that ball on the inside. Douglas not letting him get a 3-point shot.
Gore off the fake, and Brower came back. Now Coleman off, and Syracuse trying to put together a run. Here's Rowe. Brower open.
Good hustle by Brower.
They cut it to 6. Crowd, excess of 30,000, climbs into it.
You notice Douglas, he's staying way out on Miller.
Traveling.
Great rebound here by Derek Coleman. He just stretches those hands out. Very good. Super move by Douglas, and then a nice pass by Rowe, and there's Brower, who we said really showed some great hustle getting down on the break.
Bobby Martin checks in for the first time. He's the 6'9" freshman from Atlantic City. Syracuse now on a run. They've hit their last 4 field goals. Rowe from the fake. They miss this time. Martin battles. Can't get the handle. And Rowe saves it for Syracuse.
Brent, I get the feeling that Rowe thinks that he's got the open hand here today because he had the big game against Pitt.
Douglas on the penetration throws up a miss, but Cycli was standing there. He misses. Third chance, and foul is called.
Yep, Gore over the back.
His second.
This is the biggest lineup Pitt can put out there. Moves Gore to the backcourt. Martin, Lane, and Smith up front. So really a good matchup for Pittsburgh.
This is the best run of the game so far for Syracuse.
Approaching 200 times in the line this year, only shooting in the 54th percentile.
Smith way out with a 3. His spot in this game. Rowe with the rebound. Douglas spins away. Love deep. Off the glass, and Cycli fouled again.
Now Douglas gets aggressive, and he put that ball up there that I don't think Wilt Chamberlain could have got it. But a nice ricochet into Ronnie Cycli's hands. Now this was not planned. It was for Coleman. Cycli holds his ground. The right place at the right time.
Martin was somewhat tentative when the ball went up. If he'd have closed on in front of Ronnie, he might have got the rebound. Instead, he reached in and committed his first personal foul. He comes back and hits this free throw.
Expect if he makes this free throw for Syracuse to go into a little press. They haven't been effective with it. Gore recognized it and heads down court.
This is a 10-3 run now over the last 3.5 minutes by Syracuse. Jim Burr over checking at the scorer's table. John Mason, the scorer over there, and Gabe Pomeroy, the timekeeper.
Coleman poised for a rebound on his. No press.
Pittsburgh did lead this game by 12. Down to 4, and this crowd's alive. Lane Misses that time. Douglas gets the rebound.
Brent, you notice that Pittsburgh has abandoned their inside game now that Syracuse has this big lineup up there. I'm really surprised.
Derek Brower, the key substitution for Jimmy Boeheim. Cycling, and Martin comes over and knocks the ball away, and the Panthers come back.
Terrific weak side help by Martin on that play.
And Brower fouled him.
That was a good swing by Syracuse to get the ball back to Ronnie Cycli. A good job by Rowe, but there was the terrific defensive weak side help by Martin coming over.
And that time he did step in aggressively down low, and Derek Brower will take a breather, and so will Rowe. So two players come off for Boeheim, and Duncan and Thompson go back in. What does this do now to the Orange Men's lineup?
Well, it makes it obviously much smaller. Brower's got to be a key in this ballgame, and I think Jimmy Boeheim realizes that he is going to play for the second half and try to keep this game tight and try to get Syracuse in a position where they don't have the fatigue factor, because Brower can't go 35 minutes in a ballgame.
This will be the 7th free throw for Pittsburgh. Syracuse has shot 8. Now coming back in for the Panthers, Jason Matthews.
And you see Paul Evans countering right away, say, hey, if he's going to rest some of his big people, so will I. So he goes back to the smaller lineup as well.
Duncan waits for Thompson. Explosive leaping ability inside. What a dandy coming your way next in the NBA. The hottest team, not the Lakers, not the Celtics, but the Dallas Mavericks. And they match up against the Los Angeles Lakers. The crowd down in Dallas the other night saying, we want L.A. We want L.A. Folks, you got them. They'll be there.
And Brent, last year's NBA playoffs may have taught them a lesson. They may have been experienced. Getting knocked out early.
Some biased New York observer just told me that Willis Reed is really the hottest team.
Well, you give him some credit. He comes all the way across the country and wins 3 in a row.
Cycling. Off the dribble. Thompson in there jumping, and a foul underneath. That's the 3rd on Demetrius Gore, and it hurts the Panthers here in the first half at the 4:51 mark.
You know what also hurts is with Stevie Thompson, when he isn't up against the trees, he goes in there and actually can outplay anybody 6'4", 6'5" with his leaping ability. Paul Evans recognized and said, no, I got to get some size in here.
Yeah, right away, Billy. Martin returns, and Gore will sit down with the 3 personals.
Evans and Coleman going after each other a little bit, but they're laughing. Very, very good sportsmanship. Stevie Thompson, another one of those bricklayers from the foul line. 0 for 3 so far. 0 for 4.
And Coleman yanks it away with that long reach of his.
You know, if you're a Syracuse guy on the line, you got to get ready for a rebound every time your man shoots a foul, which Coleman did that time.
Cycli wants it inside on Smith, and Smith duels the big man. Now wraps him up virtually.
Nice defense by Miller.
The lob to Coleman. Couldn't get the handle. Battles to save it, but he was out of bounds.
Tough break for Coleman because he had himself in position for a dunk.
Derek Brower, number 30, coming into the ballgame.
Take a look at Boeheim. He got some marvelous body language through the years.
Jimmy Boeheim with another 20-win season is now 4th in the nation in terms of his winning percentage of active coaches.
That wasn't one of his better performances.
No, no, he can do better. And as this game moves on, we'll expect. Looks like Pittsburgh realizes the 3-point lane for Lane and Smith is not their game. They're going inside a lot more now.
Here's Lane. He was fouled by Brower. That's 3 on Brower.
Personal charge to Brower.
Brent, a crazy stat on Brower. Anytime he scores 3 or more points, Syracuse wins the ball game. He's got 2. If I'm Jimmy Boeheim, I set up something for him to get the next couple of shots off. Try to keep that string going. He's only scored 4 points in their 7 losses.
First and 2. Your own lane is good.
Oh, a great tap! Boy, what a tap in.
And for Smith, 10 points here in the first half.
For number 32, Charles Smith. That'll be 2-point basket.
One more dribble by Cycling and a layup.
Douglas spins around Miller and he's fouled.
Brent, I think that's nice strategy for Syracuse to go ahead and allow Douglas to clear out a couple of times and just force Miller to try to stay with him. I don't know if he can.
Syracuse 50% at the free throw line. 6 of 12. They've missed their last 4 free throws.
Miller's averaging almost 35 minutes a game this year. Talking about a raw freshman coming in, handling the ball almost exclusively for a top 10 ball club. I would think that could be an Achilles heel for Pittsburgh if he has to sit down for a while.
Director of the NCAA, Dick Schultz. Back to you, Brent.
Thanks, James. Let me just quickly add that this incident did not involve Georgetown. All right, it's a nasty one. St. John's and Providence. We'll have that story coming your way at halftime. All right, now for Syracuse and Pittsburgh battling for the regular season title. Inside of 3 minutes now. Thompson, Duncan, Douglas, Cycli, and Coleman. And here's Cycli dishing, and Douglas was going hard to the glass. He thought Ronnie was coming up with a shot. He wasn't thinking pass at all that time. He was going to try to help out rebounding off a miss.
Pretty good move by him, though, Brent, to cut in back door like that, because Martin had pulled out of that zone trying to pick off the pass. Coleman and Lane really battling for position. I think that was offensive. Sure was. Good call.
And that's 3 on Lane, 3 on Gore, 2 on Smith. So foul problems mounting. Evans up now with a few words for the officials, starting to work on them a little bit.
I think they've got to get Lane out of there, Brent. He fouled out of the Seton Hall game the other night and really cost Pitt dearly. He's got 3 fouls with 2:36 to go, and I don't know if Paul Evans realizes it, but this would be the time to get him out of there.
He's already scored 18 points for him, averaging 13 coming into this game.
See, now what Jimmy Boeheim figures is that Pittsburgh will go into a zone to protect Lane a little bit, so he comes right back with Rowe, so he has his designated shooter in the game. A little chess match going on here. I think Paul Evans has got to go ahead and get Lane out of there. Nice piece of officiating there was Cycli pushing Smith, and they just let it go. Something Pittsburgh has not seen, and Paul Evans wants a 3-point shot. I thought it was 3 myself.
It was close, and the referees conferred with each other, and the man across the floor said it was a 2. Syracuse, now they've changed it, Billy.
I think it was a 3-point shot.
They're going to go with a 3 now. Hold on.
Now here is the...
Let's take a look, Billy. What is this a...
We'll see. Here's the shot. I don't think any question it was a 3. See, he's way behind the line.
They're going to change it right now. Yeah. Gene Manji came over, the third man, and said, hey, look, no doubt about it, that was a 3, so they've got it right now on the scoreboard. We got a 41-32 count out here on the floor with 2 minutes to go. Rowe comes back with a miss. Lane couldn't get the handle.
Now, what Paul Evans says that that ball hit the scoreboard that time, or hit the clock that time. The referees didn't agree with him. I think that Syracuse has got to go to Stevie Thompson now, making Jerome Lane play somebody. It's like they're playing a little triangle in 2. Little triangle.
3, and Martin goes for the miss.
Pittsburgh went to the triangle in 2 that time. 2 men, man-to-man. They're trying to protect Lane for this last minute and 27 seconds.
Now, Pittsburgh spurted early, and they've been successful in holding off Syracuse's comeback here in the first half. That would be your main storyline. It's sitting on 41-32. They're bringing the clock down. The big man with a jump shot and a miss. And Cycli going for it, and he is fouled.
Great defense by Ronnie Cycli. Again, not trying to chop down with the arm. And you think about him as a freshman, that would have been an automatic foul.
Well, March Madness heating up certainly next weekend with the various foul problems mounting on the inside for Pittsburgh.
And you can see Paul Evans brings Bailey in to take Smith's place, which puts him in bad shape because he still has to keep Lane on the floor. I think he probably would have been able to take Lane out had Smith not committed his third.
So they're going to take a lead into the locker room at the intermission, but the second half they'll have to be very careful with the foul problems. They're trying to hold off Syracuse.
Brett, this will be a good time for Pittsburgh to run down the clock. Try to keep this lead as best they can. Good defense.
Timeout is called by Miller.
Well, were they really losers? Missouri, an outstanding club. UNLV losing at home. Pittsburgh losing at home. Duke, who's really on a downer right now, losing that ball game to Clemson.
Here's Bailey, who has come in, and he was fouled by Rowe.
Jimmy Boeheim did not want to foul there. And notice, with Smith out of the ball game and Gore out of the game, Pitt really has a hard time against that press. They've been able to throw right over it to Charlie Smith, who takes it up court. Without him in the game, they just don't know how to advance it. Here's a man that's used to winning in the Dome. Played at Navy. And they had that huge win here in the Dome in the NCAA tournament.
And then Nate Bailey transferred to Pittsburgh to play for his old coach.
That foul really hurt Syracuse. They were playing so well defensively.
He made him pay by hitting the 2 free throws at the 1:08 mark.
Matthews really out on roll, expecting that three-point shooting ability. Well, I'd go to Coleman and make Lane have to play.
Lane goes down. And it's going against Syracuse. That's the first on Douglas.
Shows you the experience Jerome Lane has. He just held his ground. But he's got 3 fouls on him. I can't believe that he's staying out on the court for this last 40 seconds. They could hold it for the last shot.
Oh, he did not want number 4 called.
No.
He really flopped down to make sure.
Miller very good in this situation. He's such a good ball handler. He's got a lot of patience. Gonna try to hold it down to about 8, huh? Smart move.
Matthews. Cycli comes away. They've got 6 seconds to work with. And Douglas got Coleman. He'll go for the layup. Something to build on. Syracuse with a last-second shot for Jimmy Boeheim, but Pittsburgh with the lead here in the one-game shootout for the Big East title.
Out of the box.
And it's Miller with his 3rd personal now. So 4 starters for the Panthers with 3 fouls. Gore, Lane, Smith, and now Sean Miller.
Brett, when they run that play, I'm surprised teams don't back completely off of Coleman, go down in front and behind cyclically, force Coleman to take some outside jumpers to prove that he can make it before you go ahead and play him honest.
I was asked, what about Ronnie Cycli and the United States Olympic team? Well, he is an American citizen. He's played on one of our world teams. He sent in his application, and he will go to the trials and attempt to make that team.
Very disappointed was Ronnie Cycli when he did not make the Pan Am team. I rode with him on the plane back from those trials, and he was really upset about it. So you know he's going to go there with all the effort he can to make that team.
Now they get in low right away, and Smith misses. Coleman comes off with the air ball, and now it's Douglas pressuring the defense. That foul trouble, Syracuse can apply a lot of heat on the inside. Cycli missing, loose. Miller off with it for the Panthers. Here's the freshman point guard. He did not take 1 shot in the first half. Now it's Smith up over Cycli. Money didn't come up strongly against him that time, and Smith was able to muscle it. Rose steps out. Porter now chases him over here to this side.
Lane is not going out with Coleman. Smart move on his part. Stay back in there to help with Cycli.
Thompson on the drive, offensive foul call.
That was all created by Jerome Lane knowing excellent position on defense. He packed back in to stop Cycli, and since he was down in the lane, he was in perfect position to stop Stevie Thompson. Coleman has got to recognize that, Brent, and take up a little slack so that he doesn't have an 18-foot jump shot.
Now, here's the story. If you just checked in, big foul problems for that Pittsburgh front line. It's 45-38 the Panthers. This is for the championship of the Big East. The winner to be seeded #1 next weekend at Madison Square Garden. Smith off the turnaround comes out and misses his first 2 shots. Lane rebounds and Rowe commits his second personal, and 2 team fouls against Syracuse. This game has been very tightly called. We've got a big-time crew here, but again, I'll make the point that when you have an incident like last night in that St. John's Providence game, the officials are well aware, and they do not want any violence to break out in this game.
Syracuse zoning out of bounds, going to the trap. Nice move by Smith.
And Smith is cold here in the second half. And as Lane comes up, Rowe commits his 3rd personal. 2 quick fouls on the Syracuse guard.
Brett, there has not been a better two-handed rebounder at this size in college basketball in many, many years. Jerome Lane just picking off 2 offensive rebounds. He gets great position. He's got great strength in his hands, and he has a great feel for the ball.
Only 6'6".
Led the nation in rebounding last year. Is going to come in, not as the champ this year, behind Miller of Chicago Loyola.
Struggling a bit at the free throw line today. That makes him 3 of 7.
Number 34, Jerome Lane.
Coleman coming out, and that pass stolen by Miller. It was telegraphed to Douglas, who was in behind him. Lane sends it back to Smith, who puts it on the floor off the dribble, and still missing. Coleman rebounding. Duncan. Ball into the hands of Porter. From the corner, Demetrius Gore hits a 2. It was close, but he was over that line, and it was a 2-point field goal. It's a 10-point Panther lead.
Brent, I just feel that Pittsburgh is getting into their offensive sets a lot better than Syracuse. Syracuse is feast or famine, either going for the outside shot or going to try to pound everything inside, and there's nothing in between.
Cycli on the inside.
Oh, that's a touch foul.
And is that going against Smith? It is. That's his 4th personal foul.
Now, Paul Evans has got something that he's got to do. He's got to come back with Martin, or he's got to go to zone the rest of the way. He can't afford It's going to be the move to Martin. He can't afford to have Smith out there with 4, and we've got 17 minutes to go.
Bobby Martin checking into the game here at the 17:24 mark with Pittsburgh up by 10.
Jimmy Boeheim saying, hey, there's no timeout here. Let's get him off the floor.
Smith sits.
Boy, a lot of time to go, Brent. 17:24. That means he's got to keep Smith out for about 6-8 minutes.
2 shots.
We're talking about an all-American caliber ball player, both on the offensive and defensive end of the floor. So Cycli now is going to be with Martin. Pittsburgh now.
Gore goes back to 10. Martin taking Cycli. Rowe gives it back to Ronnie, and it is stolen by Gore. Miller's open on the right. Sends it back to Martin, who smashes it up over Duncan.
Good no call by the official on that play.
Boeheim is down to 1 timeout. He must use the television timeouts now and really hold on to that one if he can. He's got to come from behind here in this title game.
I'm sure Paul Evans would give him a timeout if Boeheim would give him one more foul on Smith.
So Douglas pulls up with a jump shot. 10 for the game.
Syracuse trying to pick up the tempo defensively a little bit. It's tough to do that against Miller.
Miller runs the floor and sets the table. Doesn't he? Porter off a fake, had Rowe in the air and comes back. And now with Smith on the bench, Pittsburgh shooting very well. Smith in the half was only 1 of 5 before he picked up number 4. Cycli short. It's Pittsburgh's rebound. Lane again into the hands of the quarterback. And what a town he's from to be a quarterback. Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, the hometown of one Joe Namath. Here's Martin for the Panthers, and now you can feel it with this Pitt team.
Now here's where Syracuse, Brent, as you pointed out, can't call another timeout, not with this much time in the game, and they've kind of lost it. I think they need to go to Coleman some to get Lane occupied with his 4th foul. They haven't let him touch the ball.
No, come on.
Lane's not guarding him out there. Smart move.
Douglas comes up on Miller, hits the field goal. Now we've got 4 on Miller.
Maybe time for Kavanaugh in there just to give Miller a little break. Because you certainly want Miller on the floor for that last 4 or 5 minutes. Paul Evans can also decide to go into a zone defense, try to protect some people, which means Rowe will come back into the game.
Brower picks up the ball. And on the drive, score the field goal for Gore, and we'll put him on the line.
Brent, the press has not bothered Pittsburgh all day, and even in this case, without Charles Smith. And the guy that makes the play is Porter, who comes back for the ball. Gore takes it right at Cycli, who does not plant himself, and picks up the foul.
The Panthers build their biggest lead over Ronnie Cycli in Syracuse.
Number 12.
And indeed, here is number 12, Pat Kavanaugh. He was a point man in the Big East tournament for them a year ago with the freshmen sitting down. We'll review the standings for you. Georgetown cinched number 3 because they've got a better record against the top 2 than Villanova. That turned out to be the tiebreaker. So if form holds, Georgetown would play the loser, provided both win their opening round games. And, of course, the winner would go into the Villanova-St. John side of the draw.
And there they are in the 2-3 zone.
Martin fronting Cycli. ACC game. Tar Heels awfully impressive the other night against Georgia Tech, too.
Good steal.
Put on the floor, the battle for the loose ball, and they'll tie it up underneath, and the next held ball goes over to Pittsburgh.
That was Kavanaugh that made the great steal on the inside. A very strong kid, as you said, a college quarterback. And here comes Rowe in the game, realizing that they're playing the zone. Jimmy Boeheim needs some outside shooting.
Syracuse has turned it over 14 times today, and Pittsburgh but 4. Gore has played well for the Panthers. Lane has had a monster for them. Martin's come off the bench.
Martin's trying to lean on Brower, and Brower didn't even feel him.
Here's Martin. Off the miss. Coleman out quickly now to Douglas. Brower's ahead of him. On the pull-up. And Brower, reaching over Porter, commits the personal, his 4th. Oh, my. Foul trouble on both sides, and near the end of the game, Billy, you now select a Chevrolet player of the game, and Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school.
With that last fast break opportunity that Douglas had, it shows you how important it is to fill those lanes. Look at this football pass.
Lane with the left-handed hook. Missing. Thompson gives it to Douglas.
Considering the score, that was not a smart play by Kavanaugh.
Thompson. They can't get anything to fall. Going after Lane. Fouls Coleman, his 4th.
Great hustle by both players. Now Paul Evans really has to do some thinking. And he could come back with Bailey and play zone for a while. That's what he may have to do. Really showing some confidence in Lane's ability, though, to stay in good defensive position.
Thompson. A 2.
Kavanaugh driving into a trap.
After he beat 3 men, there's a manpower advantage here now. Gore fires up a miss.
I think you'll see a timeout by Paul Evans the next time down.
This is a 3. Martin rebounding, and quickly it's Porter. Open is Kavanaugh, gives it back to Lane, and Lane is short. He didn't want the charging foul. He eased up on the layup. Loose. Thompson goes back. Coleman. Imagine this crowd if they ever draw even. They're still down 10. Douglas knocks it out of bounds.
It's got to be timeout for good play by Stevie Thompson. Good air dribble. I really think Pitt needs a timeout right here to get back under control. You'd like to save them to the end of the game, but they're losing some composure right now with his club on the floor.
Thompson is out there with Earl Duncan. Brower sits back down. They go to trap the ball. Martin powers his way out. 69-49, 12:48 to go. Syracuse, a battle for the regular season title in the Big East.
2-3 zone by Syracuse.
Porter, it was a 2.
Boy, these freshmen have ice water in their veins, don't they? Miller and Porter and Matthews. Porter, a Pittsburgh kid.
Cycli wanted it.
See, Lane can't touch it. So we've seen 3 occasions, Brent, in the last 2 times down the floor. 1 on offense, 2 on defense, where Lane couldn't get involved with the play.
But Syracuse can't trade baskets at this time. They have got to buckle down defensively. This won't help them. They're trying to come uphill, and they're down by 12 at 12 minutes. And Pittsburgh is just beating this pressure every time down the floor. Here's Duncan's 3. Now let's see what they do defensively. That's the critical element in this game.
Well, what's happening is their press is not creating, up to this point, any turnovers, and it's given
them
Pittsburgh
layups
some easy
up
shots.
Here.
Right.
Absolutely. Lane underneath, and he was fouled. Cycling, and that's his third.
And Brent, what I think is that Syracuse in a position, there's so much time left in this game, they don't have to try to get it back all in a matter of a couple of minutes. You go back and play solid defense and come back, you know, one at a time.
So here at the Carrier Dome, I'm Brent Musburger, and Billy Packer, do you think Boeheim then should completely call that press off and go back and set up in a zone or a man down here?
I think it was a good move by Jimmy to try it because he's got Kavanaugh in the game as opposed to Miller, but it has not at this point been effective. And he's got plenty of time in the ball game to come back gradually.
A 20-point afternoon already for Lane. That has been the continuing story here. The foul problems mounting. The benches could decide this one. So a television timeout at the
Third largest, by the way.
Cycling in deep now. And drew the foul on Martin. He'll come up to the free throw line. You know, mentioning the crowd here, very loyal Syracuse fans, great city. This arena's meant so much to this particular city. But some Pittsburgh fans traveled over here. For example, there was a group from Montour High School who are seated way up high, and they came out and they watched the Panthers practice yesterday, and they said, please, you and Mr. Packer mention our basketball team, and play in the city, very close to Pittsburgh, loyal fans. You know, Billy, when the Steelers were traveling around.
What do you got going in Montour? There's something, I mean, you don't bring that up. A million people request that of you. You never mention it.
You know, he's just like a very nice young man from Pittsburgh. They have some of the most loyal sports fans I've ever been around. When the Steelers were going hot, you travel around and see those rabid Steeler fans. Myron Cope keeps that city fired up over there. Cycling now hits the free throws.
You notice that Syracuse has gotten away from the press. They're going to play it solid. Make a very smart move by Jimmy Boeheim. Come out in the half-court trap.
Martin. Now Syracuse can put together a run. Smith and Miller, remember, are out because of foul problems. Thompson smashes.
Watch this defense, Brent. Looks like they're going back in his zone. See if they come out and trap. Here they come.
Gore gives it to Lane. Comes back with a rebound. He was fouled. That on Coleman is his third. Oh, a summary of our Big East championship game. The foul problem certainly the headline right now. Syracuse a little sloppy with the ball. And Jerome Lane, the big man for the Panthers, is at the free throw line. He's got 21 points and 10 rebounds already.
Of course, last year in this ball game, Pitt beat Syracuse by 14 in this arena. Beat them twice last year. Until the Big East tournament where they lost.
Boy, what a brick he threw up that time.
Yep, he did. Hard shot. Pitt stays back in that 2-3 zone.
Syracuse again trying to close down to within 6. Douglas gets it done.
You notice he went right by Lane as Syracuse trying to make him pick up his 5th. Paul Evans come back with Smith in another couple minutes.
Martin blocked by Cycling. And Coleman came over.
Great. Gonna call a jump ball.
And it's Syracuse ball.
Right. 2 great blocks by Ronnie Cycling.
Now they can cut it to 4. From the ball. 3 seconds is called underneath. And Jim Boeheim can't believe that call.
Well, Brett, one of the things, Syracuse got so much time left in this ball game, they don't have to rush quite so much. And I think they recognize that at the last timeout.
So it's Lane. He's cycling off with the miss. Here's Douglas to Duncan. This is an 8-1 run by the Orangemen. This is what March is all about. Cycling. Back to Thompson. Martin is down and hurting underneath the pit basket. Timeout. He'll be tended to. Our coverage of the Big East Championship continues after this message from your local station.
You see Martin come right around here. He tries to do the hook, and you watch his right leg. It'll be right in this area right here as soon as he tries the hook shot. Goes up, comes down. You can see him twist. His entire leg is twisted right here, and he comes down hard on the leg as Bobby Martin. And he stayed on the floor the entire time.
Now that really gives Coach Evans a crisis with this Pitt team. Smith was out with the 4 personals. Martin leaves with a leg injury. Syracuse is off on a 10-1 run. So with 4 fouls at the 9:07 mark, Smith, number 32, is back on the floor. And Miller, with 4 fouls, returns at the point. He's directing the attack. Gore comes out high.
Demetrius has had an excellent game today. What Lane and Smith have got to do, Brent, is not worry about fouls at this point now. They have taken themselves basically out of the game by being passive on defense.
Thompson jumps up. Smith can't get the handle, but Lane winds up with it.
Coleman hurt his ankle. Coleman's limping.
Coleman limping back for Syracuse. And he is in pain. He's out here with Lane. And here's Douglas. Gives it to Thompson. Coleman trying to play through it, staying on the floor right now. We've got another 2-point lead. Smith sends it back, and Gore comes off the dribble. Miller across to Gore, who's been active. Porter. And here's Gore, moves free.
Oh, he lost it in his hand.
And Lane comes up with a field goal, and he is fouled by Cycli, his 4th.
And Brent, again, there's a case where Lane has got to not worry about fouling out. Just go play the game.
After this, we've got NBA. The Dallas Mavericks, coached by John McLeod. Winners, I think their streak is now 11 in a row. The Lakers are without Michael Cooper. So a chance for Dallas, and of course that's the team you have to be able to beat by the time you get to the Western Conference playoffs, and that's coming up after this Big East title game.
Free throw is good by Jerome Lane. 71, Syracuse 66.
It's a 5-point lead.
Coleman's running a little better, Brent. I think he worked his ankle loose there.
Duncan's jumper hits the iron, Lane off. Breaking free is Porter. Behind to Gore. Beautiful pass by the freshman as he was going out of bounds. 15 points for Gore.
Jimmy Boeheim has to be upset with Duncan. He doesn't want him taking that shot. They still want to go inside some more.
They've closed to within 2 twice, and suddenly it's back to 7 at the 7-minute mark. Now it's Cycli around, and Coleman coming hard, and it was a foul inside against the Orange men. That's 4 on Coleman.
We had Jimmy Burr, the referee, had some physical problems before this game, Brent. They have brought along a 4th official to take his place, and it looks like Jimmy may not be able to go much further.
So Burr limping, and the alternate who is here is Jim Kinsey.
I don't know if Jim realized that's what they're talking about right now, but he better get ready.
Go back in the hallway and do some stretching or running here.
1-1.
Is this Miller's first shot of any kind today?
It is.
He's been a great free throw shooter, set an all-time record at Pitt this year. Misses the front end.
walks in on Lane and then goes after his miss.
And they add to the dunking list up there on the far end of the gymnasium.
Gore's had a hot hand this half, missing this time. Pulled down by Lane.
Great rebound.
Here's Gore trying to hang in the air. It was hit, no traveling. Cycli saves it. It's 2-on-1. Thompson. Duncan follows.
There's your lob, Brent. Good backdoor cut.
Coleman up over the top.
Yeah, Porter has been finding himself open. Good
Now,
backdoor
Derek
cut.
Coleman has picked up his 5th. So we've got a tie before 70. This is his 2nd free throw, so he hits both of them now. It's 75-70. We've got the final 6 minutes coming your way.
Brent, I think Porter is a guy that's really coming out right now. He's looking for the shot, making good moves without the ball. He's been in this Big East environment, living in Pittsburgh for a long time. Brower's got to take the shot.
Hesitated a couple of times, didn't want to take it, and missed. Now, Martin has returned to the Pittsburgh bench, and according to the coaching staff, he could play again. He's over there in uniform. So fortunately, it was not a serious leg injury. Now Douglas steals the ball. Douglas on the pull-up, fires it in.
So quick across that lane.
That's Martin watching the action.
That's about the first mental mistake Gore has made today on that handoff back to Miller.
Coleman fouls out. Brower and Cycli. Here's Douglas again, and Brower will not be able to get that one in time. It'll be Pitt's ball.
And Gore throws the same pass again.
Now that's the foul trouble, and that really has been the major story here. And the whistles are playing a very, very big part in the unfolding of this story.
Brent, you made a great comment a couple of weeks ago. After fights, there usually are tight whistles, and that's what's been the case today.
Smith going for the layup through Cycli. He must play with 4, so he didn't want to jump over.
At home, you ought to try to draw the charge.
Douglas gives it up to Brower. Score it.
Remember that stat, Brent. If he scores more than 3, Syracuse wins. He now has 3. But he is shooting the foul shot, so we may have anything from a broken backboard to an air ball, but very seldom a swish.
That stat was courtesy of the Derek Brower fan club.
There he is, right inside.
That's great news for the Orangemen.
It's Syracuse.
From the Pitt bench officially, that was not a knee or an ankle injury. It was a hamstring pull. That's why Martin has come back.
And there you see Syracuse playing a 2-3 zone. Sean Miller has not gotten off a shot at all today. He's looking to get in that 3-point range. They're missing him.
Smith. He has been off shooting in the second half. Lane comes back, and Douglas fouls him. And now Lane and Douglas bump each other, and there's an alert move by an official. He quickly grabs Lane and just simply moves him out of the way.
Nice sportsmanship, too, on the part of Jerome Lane and Sherman Douglas. 2 great competitors, realizing in the heat of the battle they collided and went back and did a clasp of the hands.
So again, what's at stake? The regular season championship, the top seed in the Big East. The winner would be in the bottom bracket, and the number 2 seed goes into the Georgetown Seton Hall side of the draw.
Remember a year ago, Brett, these fellas from Pittsburgh lost to Oklahoma, a team that's right in the mix now for one of those number 1 seeds.
Syracuse can tie it.
Pitt stays in the man-to-man. Jimmy Boeheim wants something inside. Boeheim wants three. Again, we have the controversy over the three-point play. He's going crazy.
Boeheim thinks he should be ahead. Miller's three, and Smith rebounds.
Got fouled.
Lane. Pittsburgh back ahead. 27 for Jerome Lane. Smith could not run it down. Let's take a look at this controversy a moment ago. Was it a three? Was Boeheim right? Watch the far left-hand side of the screen.
The answer is no. His foot was on the line. His right-hand foot is on the line. His right foot's on the line. Watch this. See it?
Right there.
Yep, on the line. Great
on
call.
On the line, 79-77. 2:56 to go. We'll be right back. In this game by 14. Jim Boeheim has nurtured that final timeout, and he still has it, Billy Packer. Now they can tie it or go ahead with a three as they bring it inbound. Douglas, Duncan, Brower, Thompson, and Cycli on the floor for Syracuse against Gore, Miller, Porter, Smith, and Lane. Cycli tied.
Cycli's showing us a finger roll. Normally he shoots a little turnaround jumper when he comes back that way. Both teams playing a 2-3 zone down the wire.
The third largest crowd ever in the Carrier Dome for a basketball game.
Miller trying to find a spot for his three-point shot. And you can't swing the ball from man to man to get the man to three. You've got to have the skip pass, and that's why he's not getting his shot off.
Smith. He squared up beautifully that time, something he has not done here much of the second half. Total of 16 points.
Gore's out of position in the 2-3 zone.
Brower quickly to Douglas, knocked away by Porter. Great defensive play. Gore breaks free on Thompson.
Oh, that's
and
intentional.
Thompson goes for the foul.
Oh, that should be intentional. That should have been a two-shot and the ball.
And that's what Coach Evans wants over there on the Pitt sideline.
32.
They call it 1-1, and Evans can't believe it.
I can't either. Look at, he's not going for the, he's just grabbing him in the arms. He's not, no question that is intentional. And that is a big, big call because you put a man on the line for two with the ball back.
The critical free throw shooting of the last 2 minutes. Thompson sitting down, and Rowe returns.
How about this crazy stat? Syracuse has not missed a free throw in the second half. I mean, that's just, we said at the top of the show, that would be their bugaboo.
And Pitt misses a big one, but they get it back. Leading by 2 now, 1:30. Derek Coleman has fouled out of the game for Syracuse.
Pitt using some clock and trying to spread this 2-3 zone out a little bit.
Evans wants a timeout. East. Pittsburgh has led all the way, up by as many as 14. Now each team down to its final timeout. In the case of a tie ball, tied-up situation, Pittsburgh would have possession. They have the ball right now. This is their freshman guard, Miller.
To their other freshman guard, Matthews has come in and taken Porter's place.
Miller comes back quickly to the ball. Shot clock is down to 10 seconds. This is Lane on the drive.
Beautiful. And that was a tough matchup for Syracuse because Brower just can't stay with him from 18 feet.
29 points for Jerome Lane. Duncan hits the three. Back to within a point. And Jim Boeheim quickly goes to the Billy Packer.
Well, I think you have to go after Jerome Lane, and Jason Matthews obviously was put into the ball game because he's an 85% free throw shooter, and even though Porter was playing well, he's only a 56% shooter, so you got to go with the percentages.
Pittsburgh leading by 1. They have possession against this press. 45 seconds left in regulation. get it to Smith. Back into the hands of Miller. Douglas comes up with him. They're keeping the ball away from Lane. Aries got it, and quickly he goes to Miller with it. They're going to have to make a move here soon. Smith wants him. Brings Cycli out. He's out there with 4 fouls.
He doesn't want to be dribbling the ball out there.
Timeout is called by Smith. Syracuse will have to foul someone. Rowe comes out, and he has fouled Jason Matthews. They'll put Jason Matthews in a 1-on-1 situation at the 19-second mark.
Brent, he's been on the foul line 55 times this season. He's an 85% free throw shooter. But a lot of those free throws were early on in the year, and he's lost a lot of confidence since then.
Now, will Pittsburgh allow Syracuse to get off a 3-point shot if it comes down to that at the end? All the strategy that has already been discussed here with Matthews moving up to that free throw line. Syracuse trying to slow things down, be deliberate, apply the ice to the freshman. Long. He missed it, but Smith gets it back. And a foul is called. Rowe went quickly out after Smith. That would be his 5th personal.
Freshman puts his head down a little bit, and the coaches console him. But he put that ball up strong, Ben. Most times when guys pull that string a little bit, it's a short shot.
Second Syracuse starter to foul out. Now we'll get a little late game body action from Coach Jimmy Boeheim on that. Oh, no.
You know what happened right there, didn't you? That's when Smith got the ball.
Now Smith will step up to that free throw line. He scored 16. And he has hit both his free throws here this afternoon. Brower checks in for Rowe. This half.
Oh, I wonder what that was all about. Cycli with a little conversation. Whatever that conversation was, it didn't mean much. But now, Brent, they still have an opportunity to go for the 3-point shot. You can bet Douglas will get it up the court.
Now he doesn't have Rowe, who unfortunately fouled out for them.
Duncan would be his best chance.
Smith hits both his free throws in a clutch situation. 17 seconds, a 3 would tie it and send it to overtime. Douglas off the dribble fires it, doesn't get it. Cycli, and it's Douglas getting it back. Here's Duncan, the shot won't stay. 4 seconds to go. Thompson gets it inside to Brower, and that's it. Syracuse loses, and Pittsburgh has won the Big East.
Basket by Derek Brower.
Syracuse did exactly what they needed. Here's where I think you got to think about fouling somebody, because they gave him a bunch of choices. The ball comes back out. Wisely, Sherm Douglas gets it to Duncan. I thought this one was golden. He took a good release. Now here's where Stevie Thompson tries to go inside with the ball. He's been smart to throw it back out to the perimeter, because that meant nothing to get 2 points.
And the score brought down for you, Ben, in just a few moments. Thank you all very much for being here. You saw a Big East Classic.
Jimmy wanting the ball back out on that last pass. He says you've got to go for the 3. The 2 won't do anything. Meanwhile, at the other end, Paul Evans, who had won his last 2 games in here with the Naval Academy and then a year ago with the Panthers, does it again. This one, the biggest one of them all, and his son embraces him on